I'm delighted to welcome today Susan Sommers, who is in the US and is a speaker, author, and the founder of Power Source for Women. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you so much.
So let's start by looking at what's behind you on the wall. You have something, I can read part of it, so she did, and you've got lots of what look like medals. So what are they for?
During COVID-19, I signed up because I couldn't do in-person races for online races through the Conqueror website, which is a wonderful new website. And I've done 5 of these races using my Fitbit to track my steps, including El Camino de Santiago. I did that virtually during COVID. So what it says is, she believed she could, so she did. And I guess that's my motto at this point in my life.
Brilliant. She believed she could, so she did. That is so true, isn't it? The power of the mind. People underestimate how powerful our mind is. And I often hear myself saying that we don't know how strong we are until we're tested.
Exactly. And I think for women, especially when they see an older woman like me out there, still very active, going into races, etc., it's very important for me to be out there doing these things.
I didn't know it was possible to do online events. So I'm really surprised to hear and to see you've got all these medals. So how does it actually work then, an online event?
Well, you go to the website.
All that way.
Go to the website, which was started by 2 young tech guys, I think in South Africa during COVID-19. And they must have 20 of these, I don't call them races, they're, just journeys. And you select one and you sign up and you pay. Believe it or not, it's actually cheaper than what I was doing in person. And the medals are nicer than the ones that I was getting in person, which is really interesting. And they started from nothing during COVID. They started with 1 race and then 5. I think now they might have about 30. So you just pick a challenge. So I always wanted to do a couple of other things, like I wanted to do the Grand Canyon, and so I signed up for the Grand Canyon or the Côte d'Azur. So I've done these and gotten these medals, and it's really easy because the Fitbit tracks it. So there's nothing that you have to do. And then along the way, they plant trees. So you'll suddenly get something saying, you've done so-and-so, congratulations. And here's the best part, you get postcards.
Oh, no way.
Welcome to Kruger National Park. While you're here, stop at the whatever, eat at the whatever, enjoy the animals, whatever it may be. But you get these little postcards online.
Wow, good to see.
Right?
And do you actually visually see where you're walking?
Yes, I can see where I'm walking, exactly. And I also see how much I have left. So that also encourages me. So I'm trying to do, it's winter now in Toronto, so I'm trying to do 10 to 12,000 steps a day. I used to do more when the weather was better, but it's enough for me to keep it going.
Right, cool. Sorry, I think I introduced you as being from America, Toronto. Sorry, that's a heinous crime.
But I am American.
Oh, okay.
I'm from New Jersey, so it's okay.
Gosh, some people are really quite touchy about it. So that sounds fascinating. This isn't what we're here to talk about specifically, but what's that website? Because I think I might have a look and see myself.
Well, I have a website. I started, again, I have a background in marketing. I had a PR firm for 25 years. I've written 3 books on media and media relations, marketing and media relations. And Power Source for Women, I started a few years ago just to focus on this side of it, which is mainly women, I would say 50 plus, who want to get into fitness, who want to do races, for example, 5K races. How do you get started? How do you do them? So the website has got everything from a media page with all the testimonials, etc., to background on me, to photos. I've taken a lot of photos along my journey, which, by the way, are in this book. For the first time, I've included photographs that I took in my book, which was very exciting, black and white photographs.
Brilliant. Tell us about the book then, Susan. Why did you write the book, and why did you call it Power Source for Women?
Well, I've written 2 other books on fitness and health for women, And I just wanted to do another book. I felt like, especially during COVID, to keep me going. And I thought, what is it that I've done throughout my life? Well, I'm from New Jersey, as I said. So mall walking was a huge thing for me from the time that I was young. So, which I still do in Toronto. So I thought, okay, well, I've walked. And then I started thinking, well, what are the different ways to walk? And what the book, and I'll show you, here's the cover of the book. I've got it right here. The Magic of
Oh,
Walking.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's got 30 ways to walk. So it's physical, mental, spiritual walking. So my other books were a lot about the physical side of walking and maybe preparing for races. But this one got more into walk and talk meetings, walk therapy, those kinds of things. And then the spiritual got into forest bathing and walking meditation. So there's 30 different things. So I wanted it to be a resource. I wanted it to be the kind of book that you pick up and put down. Oh, I want to do some meditating and walking. What do I do? I want a website to visit for so-and-so. So that's really what it is. And I think it is my last book. I think I've said everything I need to say. So now I'm out there speaking and teaching with it.
Brilliant. And you're there in person now with real people rather than online.
Yes, exactly. And today, I'm going to be at a meeting of something called Probus, which is a national organization where I'll be meeting with women to talk about walk and talk groups, So I don't want to lead a group, but I want to be part of a group. And I want to be able to talk to women about how to prepare for a 5K race, which is a very straightforward kind of thing, or what my journey was like. So now I'm more out there trying to share my information.
Brilliant. And that's the best way to do it within a community of people who are interested in what you do. We have Probus. I'm actually in the Algarve in Portugal, but in the UK, I remember hearing about Probus. It's linked with Rotary, is it? Or one of those types of...
I don't know. I think it's called Pro Business is what it stands for, right? And
I see.
the Toronto chapter has 80 people, and the waiting list, you can't even get in this year at all, right, anymore. But they have everything from theater groups to, as I said, walking to photography. And it's just a great way to interact with people, let's say 60 plus, which is what I was looking for.
Cool. You mentioned, well, I think you mentioned mall walking. Mall walking. Mall. So what's that?
Well, malls that have stores, like an indoor mall. Do you have any? Have you been? Yeah. That's what I'm talking
we have
about.
them. I'm sure they're not on the size and scale of yours, but are you seriously telling me that people walk malls? They
not only do they walk malls, but the mall management have discovered this is a wonderful market for them, because when they walk malls at 8 or 9 in the morning, they stay and they shop.
Oh,
so all these malls are encouraging people to come when the mall is closed and window shop and walk and socialize. So it's huge. It's really big, right? So that's what people do, especially in a place like Toronto where it's cold in the winter or snowy. You can go indoors and be dry.
Wow, what a fabulous idea. I had never ever heard of it. It sounds crackers, but actually very sensible at the same time. How brilliant.
Thank you.
I think in the UK, I can't imagine that ever taking off in the UK, because there'll be some health and safety thing that will preclude people from doing it. And then the security guards will have to be there, and it will go on and on and on. So I'm delighted to hear that at least there's some sense going on in the world. So Susan, how did you get so involved? Because you've done lots of in-person races, and I think with your husband as well, haven't you?
Yes. So it started when I was 59, and I got a job at the YMCA as a business coach in their business center, teaching marketing and doing workshops. And I joined the YMCA, and I got 2 free memberships, one for me and one for him. And before I was 59, it was very sporadic. I do a little bit of this and some walking and aerobics classes, but nothing really on an ongoing basis. I joined the Y and started to walk and started to do weights classes, and he joined a Run Fit class. And he ended up being an elite athlete in terms of he did 10 marathons and 2 Bostons. So we would go to races together, and I would walk a 5K or a 10K, and he would do the running. And I remember once I was at a race, and I always said, I'm the last one. He made me stand there at a hotel in Detroit with a glass of wine to look at the finish line to see all the people who came in after me. So that's how, you talk yourself into, I'm so slow, or I'm this or that. So this has been something that we shared. And during COVID, he went out with me every day to do 20,000 steps, to do El Camino de Santiago virtually. So I know every piece of Toronto now, right? I feel like I've been on every bench, I've walked every trail, right? But it was just, it enabled me to get through COVID, just walking every day and tracking it.
Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. You mentioned you started when you were 59, and you've referred to being over 60 now. How many years have you been at this malarkey, this walking malarkey?
I'm 78.
7 to get off. No.
Yes. So
Miss me.
you know what? It takes more work now, but whatever. But yeah, that's why, because people feel like when they turn 70 or 71, that's it, I can't move. And so it's just so important to keep moving. For example, I do yoga classes online. I don't particularly like yoga. I do restorative yoga, but I know how good it is for me. And I do weights classes online as well. So now, because of COVID, there's a lot of things that are online that are very affordable and easy to do. So that's what's happened, that now I'm committed to having fitness in my life as I age. I don't want to fall, I want to be able to get up. I want to be able to pick things up. So I think as you get older, it really becomes vital. I want to travel, continue to travel.
Yeah, I think it's I take my hat off to you, because most 78-year-olds wouldn't be going out there on the speaking circuit, writing books, walking, and they wouldn't be half of this. And that's why they end up all decrepit and old and go before their time, because they're just too damn lazy.
Thank you.
You have to make an effort for anything these days, and I think we live in a really mixed up society where we've got so much instant gratification. The kids press a button, or they seem to be born with the tech in their hands, and you've only got to go to a bar and they don't even know the price of a drink, because they press a button, they see a picture, press a button, and they can't work out the change. It's there for them. I mean, it's sickening, really. But us old fogies can teach them a trick or two, I'm sure. So when you're not walking or doing your yoga, how else do you spend your time?
Well, this is interesting. I mentioned to you I had photographs in my book, and you give yourself a label that you keep throughout your life. So I've done 7 books, so I thought I was a writer, and that was it. And that I just took pictures when I went on trips. And suddenly I started taking more pictures in a ravine behind my house. And I thought, well, if I'm not going to write another book, maybe I want to try photography. So I joined a photography class club, and I started to go to their meetings. I just came back from a trip to Florida, and the sunsets in Florida, which I had not seen before, were absolutely spectacular. So my daughter gave me a new camera, and I had no idea still how to use it, except I took it to Florida and clicked and got beautiful photos, 2 of which I just entered in an exhibit. And I think that's part of what I'm talking about, which is you have to find ways to motivate yourself as you age. This is new for me. I don't want to take a lot of courses. I just want to have enough information about this camera to be able to go out and use it and meet other people. So I've been a very competitive person all my life. And now I'm happy to say in the photography, I'm not competitive. I just want to do it for me. So I think maybe that's what comes with aging as well.
I think so too. I published an article yesterday called From Designer to Wheelbarrow. And the gist of it was something like, if you'd asked me 10 years ago what my prized possessions were, they'd be totally different to what they are today. And as we age, we go through different chapters. Different things are important to us, and we realize that we don't need all the trappings and all the paraphernalia that goes on in life. It seems so important when we're younger.
And it's interesting because you talk about walking, that falling, the idea of falling. I mean, I live in a condo, and so many of the people have fallen and they break things. And I think, again, because I live where the weather, today it's very nice, but it can be slippery and icy, practicing, just keeping your body strong enough, your legs strong enough that you don't fall, watching where you walk. It's just so easy to trip. And so I think that's part of one of my big priorities now, is not to fall.
Yeah. It's very easy to trip up anywhere. Where I live in the Algarve, It's very picturesque, and we have these tiny little blocks of pavement. So there's no smooth pavement. There's ups and downs and nooks and crannies, and it's really quite dangerous. So there's no question of high heels or any fancy things like that. You have to have very sensible flatters. And quite often I go out wearing my Dr. Martin boots, because that way I'm secure. I feel, my feet are, I had cancer a few years ago, and I took a tiny bit of chemo, so I can't feel my feet properly. And I do trip up from time to time. But when I'm wearing the Dr. Martens, they tend to kind of cement me to the ground, and they hold me stable, and they support my ankles as well, which is important. So I can see you doing an exhibition, photography exhibition. You've said you've entered 2 pictures, but I suspect there's probably more in there, Susan. What do you think?
Yes, I think that's true. But I want to add something. It's interesting. I'm short, and now I'm very short. I'm under 5 feet, right? So you talk about heels. So I used to always wear heels, when I'd go to a meeting. I mean, that was sort of it's going to make me, and I go on the subway and the streetcar. So even then I would try, or boots with heels. And I think that's part of getting older, wanting to take care of your health. I've had to give up wearing heels. I have to, at this point, at 78, acknowledge that I'm short. And that's been probably the hardest thing for me to acknowledge, right?
Yeah. That came to me some years ago. I went to an event with my daughter. She was presenting something on stage, some award for some achievement or other. And we had a family photo taken afterwards, and my son happened to be there, and my son-in-law. So after the event, I looked at this photo and I thought, who's that old lady in the middle? And it was me. And I was so short compared to the others. And it was the first time I'd gone out publicly wearing flatters. And the same realization. I used to be 5'5.5", plus I'd wear maybe 3-inch heels. So I think I was, above average. Now I'm under 5'3" because I've lost height through I've got a spinal problem. So I've lost height through that, plus wearing flatters. So I think we're both of us are growing old gracefully. We're transcending the years, and using our wisdom to be more sensible now, perhaps. But
exactly.
What advice would you give, going back to your book, Susan, Power Source for Women? So what are there any key messages, or not are there? What are the key messages within the book to give to people?
Well, I think, first of all, find something that's attainable. Start with something that's attainable. So if it's walk out the door. I mean, I have to put my things at the door, my shoes, my jacket, everything, to make sure I go out. So try to walk every day in terms of walking, and try to be in the sun. And I walk in the morning, and then enter a walk race, because what people, they hear the word race and they immediately panic, right? A walk race is, for me, 1 hour of walking with other people. And I'm not a speed walker. I never have been. I don't move my arms in a certain way. I just move. So the beauty of entering a race, a 5K race, is that at the end, first of all, you're with people, and you can train with people. I've done that, trained with friends. So friends who've never thought of going to a race, they'll train with me because the goal is to go into a race. And you walk for 1 hour, and at the end, you get a medal, food, sometimes a massage, and just the feeling that you'd achieved something. So that's how I started. I did 5K, 10K, half marathon, and then 2 marathons. The marathons, my second marathon, there was no finish line, no crowd, nothing, just me out there after 7.5 hours. And I think that's the one that really changed my life, because I realized that despite everything, I kept going. And that's the message, is just keep going, and set those kind of goals for yourself, of either walking with people on a daily or a couple of times a week, or going into a walk race.
Yeah, and it's not doing everything all at once, is it? Gradually building up. You can't just suddenly walk. I did have walked a marathon way back with my daughter. We were going around what do you call it? It was a charity event, going around a racetrack, and the idea was it was supposed to be a relay, and we had a team of us, and everybody was camping in the middle of this racetrack on the greenery. And our team, they all became ill except my daughter and I. So there were just the 2 of us. I think there should have been about 5 of us or something. Anyway, this man was running around the outside of the track, And the announcer kept on saying, oh, so-and-so has done X number of laps now, and he's got so much to go and so on. And he's running in memory of his grandma. It was a cancer event. And they said 102 laps, and that was a marathon. So my daughter and I had already been walking around, and we looked at one another. We went, shall we? Yeah, go on. And then we literally kept on going. We had a couple of breaks, but we did it. And we did it from scratch. We hadn't trained anything, and it was a 24-hour event. So 12 o'clock lunchtime to, so like you say, you're 7.5 hours, whatever. We did it in 24, you know, with a few gaps here and there, but it was the sense of achievement. So you must have a great sense of achievement when you do these events.
Well, I say that second marathon I told you about changed my life. And that's when I wrote my first book on fitness, because I realized that despite everything, I had the tenacity to keep going. And I almost took a shortcut, you know, like I was tempted because there was nobody around me. It was just me with a number downtown Toronto walking on this industrial street. But you know that it will haunt you forever if you do that kind of thing. Right? So, and my daughter, I've got 2 daughters, and one of them showed up with Smarties and Diet Coke. So even though many times I take, you know, healthy things when I'm in a race, I wanted the Smarties and the Diet Coke for the marathon, right?
Sugar rush. Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
So one of the tips then is to start where you're at, start slowly, gradually build up, and also within community. You've mentioned community, doing things with other people.
And having fundraisers, like you said. My husband also had a bout with cancer. I mean, I think finding a fundraiser that you believe in, and being like this Run for Women is for Women's College Hospital for mental health, as I mentioned. And that for me is so important, because especially during COVID, women's mental health suffered, right? So if I'm there with people, even if they're strangers, even if they're not with me, sometimes you're just alone, you know, in these races. It doesn't matter. You're part of a community. But I have to tell you, the funniest thing was when I would get competitive early on, because I am a fairly competitive person. So I'd look at the woman over there and say, I'm going to pass her.
Yeah.
And then I would pass her. And 5 minutes later, she would pass me, right? So that ended me ever being competitive in these races. You know, you just have to go at your own pace, and it's your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you walk with your husband? Do you ever go out socially and walking, or is it always a race that you're in?
No, well, I walk mainly alone or with a girlfriend, because he's still working and my time is really my own. But I also, on weekends, we go to listen to live music. So we're right in downtown Toronto. So we'll just walk to a venue and listen to the music and maybe eat or whatever. So that's when I would spend time with him walking. Yeah.
Nice. So how do people get hold of you, Susan? Where do they get hold of the Power Source for Women book?
Well, it's on Amazon. And by the way, I should mention it's a hardcover. It's an ebook. And I've got a for walking, what's it called?
An app?
No, I've got another edition, the one for
audio.
Yes, and I've got an audio book which I just put out. So it's 3 editions, right? So yeah, they can go to my website, which is powersourceforwomen.com. They can contact me, Susan, at Susan Sommers, SOMMERS.ca, which is my email. I'm on Facebook, so I can tell them. I'm on LinkedIn, and those are probably the easiest ways to reach me.
Brilliant.
And I would love to connect.
Very pleased to hear you've got the audio book. It's the wrong analogy, but I'm eating books at the moment. I'm devouring them. I'm going through 2 or 3 books a week, and I have this saying, every day is a school day, and I'm always learning. I learn from my podcast hosts. I'm the host, my guests. I learn from my podcast guests, and from the books and TED Talks and all kinds of things. I've always got something playing that I'm learning. So I shall be going on to the audio version and listening to the books very soon.
Well, I wanted to mention that I had nobody give me feedback on the audiobook. It's fairly new. So I welcome feedback if anyone does buy it on how they're using it. That would be wonderful.
Cool. And that's via audio. Is it via Audible? Is that how we get it?
Audible. You can go to Audible and find it there. Yeah, exactly. You can go to Kindle and find the Kindle book, and you can, as I said, go to Amazon and find the Amazon. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, I shall be looking forward to that on my next, because we get one a month. I have more in between, but I shall be getting Power Source for Women. So your website, powersourceforwomen.ca, was that?
Yes, exactly.
Brilliant.
.com. Powersourceforwomen.com and Susan
Okay.
at susansommers.ca. Yeah.
Right. Cool. Lovely. It's been fabulous speaking with you. I look forward to listening to your book, and I shall be in touch and find you on LinkedIn and everywhere else. Thank you,
And
Susan.
thank you so much. I really enjoyed this, and please keep in touch. And I'd love to hear from some of your, viewers, listeners.
Marvelous. I'm sure you will do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.